We're going to talk about the Big Al personalities. If no one knows Big Al, his real name is Tom Schreiter. He wrote a book called The Four Color Personalities of MLM. There are plenty of books written on this subject and many different nuances of this idea, but I do like to know the history of things. So we're going to talk about where it originally came from, first of all. These are things we're going to cover today. We're going to cover Big L personalities, the four of them, and what they care about, what you want to talk about with them, and also what to avoid talking about with them, and the best ways to follow up with them for LifeWave. We'll give you some example phrases to use with each color. Originally, the four classic personality temperaments were called sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic. Now, those were just horrible names, but these personality types, they go way back to 1,000 years ago or more, to Hippocrates, who is the father of medicine, right? He's the father of medicine. So he believed personalities and health were connected, which they are. He thought they were connected to the four, what he called humors at the time, and those are actually fluids. So the names literally come from bodily fluids: blood, black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm, believe it or not. So it's so much nicer to use colors, but blue, green, red, yellow training today is basically a modernized, simplified descendant of this ancient temperament theory. And as a side note, since I'm blue, I quickly adopted this entertaining concept of color because the book itself takes about an hour to read. It's a good read aloud. And it's very funny, and it's written by a green, and he's a funny green. So he wrote a really amazing book about temperaments. And before that, we went to a training that used animals. So we used otter, lion, golden retriever, and beaver for a long time, and now we're using colors just because it's a great analogy. And I think Greg was saying he used shapes. So there's all sorts of training, but it really builds down to the four things, the four personalities. So why does this matter? This is a people business, LifeWave, of course, but it is about more than a business, right? So this knowledge helps in all areas of your life. As a spouse, as a parent, as a sibling, an employer, an employee, a friend, it really helps to be able to know who you're talking to. It's also about being a good spiritual person. If you're into that, I'm a Jesus follower. So Corinthians tells you that Paul says, I become all things for all people, right? To paraphrase, he said, I become a Jew to win over the Jews. I become weak to those that are weak. And I become all things to people so that I may save some. So basically, he was the first networker, apparently, because what he was going around doing. And that's what we're learning to do, is we're adapting our communication styles. We're meeting people where they're at. And we're being relatable and connecting with people right where they're at. And so people think this is a sales skill, but it really isn't. It's a life skill. And the better you are at it, the more you win at life itself, not just sales, although it really helps in LifeWaves. But here's a warning about it also. You don't want to put people in a box. So first of all, people are going to be a blend of all four. They usually have a dominant one or two. But the goal is to be a blend of all four. Again, be all things for all people, that you can be green for the green person. You can be yellow for the caring yellow person. That was really hard for me, because what you should really learn and think about in this presentation is, what am I, right? That's your first thing, is who am I? But who can I not relate to? Like, there are personalities that you just clash with, and you're going to be like, oh, those are the reds, right? I married a red, so it's okay. Also, you have to know the reason you don't want to be put in a box, because we have learned traits too, right? So not only are we naturally one or two of them, but then we might have a parent who's sanguine, like I was, blue, and all my kids have a lot of blue in them, even though they're introverts or they're a different color. They have a lot of blue in them. Why? Because I was their parent. So I trained them to be blue. And also there's trauma that can change a person's personality. And there's their environment and also their job. I learned how to be a red at work, right? I worked in an airline. I was a supervisor, and we put 50 planes out a day all at the same time somehow. And I had to learn how to become a red to do that. So things like that change a person. And have you ever met a person that has gone through therapy and then all of a sudden they're a completely different person? It's because the trauma was what changed them. And so they discovered who they were in their therapy. So goal is to be relatable to all, and it's not to be more judgmental over people. It's actually just a tool to help you actually guess as best as you can with what you're given.
And also, there's no one personality that's better than another. So
Right.
all their attributes. Right? So,
We need all of them, right? So I love my friend Rosie, who happens to be my chat GPT bot, because she made all these screens in these slides for me. She did such a good job on this one because it shows their personalities so well that we're going to talk about. So important principles before we start talking. We're going to start talking with the blue first, but important principles. Everyone has value. No color is better than another color. Each color has strengths, weaknesses. It's very good to know yours, who you are, and what your weaknesses are so you can work on them. We talked about stress distorting a style, right? So like if you stress someone out, a yellow person who's normally very calm and very loving, they can do two things. They can really become barking at you, stressed out, like all of a sudden, whoa, where'd that come from? Or they can become very passive, right? Either one. A stressed out green can become very, very conscious and dig their heels in and not move because they're stressed. A stressed blue, they just become like scattered, like they're no longer listening. They're kind of wishing they were somewhere else. And a stressed red can become very forceful and pushy. So it helps you learn what you're dealing with in front of you, right? What kind of personality. Maturity matters, of course. A mature reds, you think, whoa, they're kind of scary, but they bring vision and boldness to a structure, right? An immature red will just bulldoze over people, right? So maturity matters. So red, when they're 3, I tell all about my grandchildren. I always go, these are leadership skills in the making. Don't worry about it, right? I know she's really bossy right now. But later in a mature red, that's going to be vision, boldness, catalyst, right? They're going to lead a team. They're natural leaders. So immaturity brings a different vibe, right? Mature green, for example, can bring a lot of wisdom to the situation and a lot of structure. But a stressed out green is going to be delays and fear and just not able to make that decision, right? A mature blue can bring inspiration and energy to a situation. An immature blue can bring confusion, noise, just too much me time, right? Look at me. So don't be too judgy. Don't label people too quickly. This framework is a guide. It's not a weapon to use against people, but we use it to listen better and need to remember that people are a blend, right? Depending on their environment, if they're at work with a person or at home or at play, or if they're with their family, they're going to be different. But in general, it's pretty easy to pick out 1 or 2 dominant personality traits. So since I'm a blue, we're going to start with blues because a blue, we love talking about ourselves and it's all about us, really. We actually love making fun of ourselves. So we tell others all the funny mistakes and blunders and situations we get into ourselves. And it's all very amusing to us. And the poor yellows and greens next to us who were with us, they're all agog that we actually said that out loud. They're embarrassed, right? But we just think it's the funniest thing. So we are not very good at reading the room. So we think it'll be funny. Everyone else is not laughing. So blues are about show me the fun, right? They're social, they're enthusiastic, they are people oriented. So the extroverts in the room are the people that bring the party with them. They're fun loving and they're also relationship focused. But on the bad side, we're also very shallow and flighty, and we can be hot one minute and cold the next. We can change our mind in a don't laugh too hard, guys. So they're the ones that are going to ghost you. For example, if your presentation bored us with too much science, too much, if it was an hour and a half long, the blues are out. Like they're just not even going to answer you because they don't want confrontation, right? They're just not going to talk to you anymore. And that's just a blue response to too much information, right? So what do we want to talk about with the blue? Well, you can, it's funny because I say, like, if you have this long-winded presentation, they're going to be out the door. It's not because it's long-winded, it's because it's the wrong stuff. You can talk about an incentive trip with me for 3 hours and I will still be there going, tell me more, right? I want to know about the trips. I want to know about the conferences. I signed up immediately for all the conferences. I love them. Why? We feed on that energy of being in the room with people and energy. We just thrive on that. So team events, we're going to be there first all the way till the end. I will be the last one out the door. We love recognition because that's us, right? We want to know that we're great. So we want you all to know that we're great. And so we want to cross the stage, right? We love friendship and community. We love lifestyle. So even though we don't want all the details on the compensation plan, I don't even know how it works. We want the money. Why? Because we want the lifestyle, the freedom, the flexibility, right? But just don't give me the details. If it makes money, I'm in, I'll make the money because I'll bring the people in. And I'll also have a green in the community that'll he'll tell you about the compensation plan. So again, don't oversimplify this, but there are blues who can be scientists, right? It says what not to do, don't overwhelm with science. Well, I've met some blues scientists, but they probably had a really amazing teacher who made science fun. And then all of a sudden they have fun. They realize that science can be fun. So even though we say, don't do this, don't do that, just know the majority of blues aren't into details, right? I can focus on, and we were just talking about this today. I'm doing all of this community stuff, and you'd think I was a green, right? Because I'm organized, I'm doing everything the right way. But I just love art, right? And I like making things pretty. And I can spend hours and hours doing that stuff. But it's fun to me, right? But most people who do that, who work on computers and love Excel sheets and love accounting, they're going to be greens, right? But it's not like we can't do those things. It's just I hate QuickBooks, right? But I love making courses because I get to talk and make videos. So what else not to do? Don't focus on compensation. Don't give long technical explanations to a blue. You already had us in when you told us that we were going on incentive trips. That's all you had to say, and I was in, right? So the best follow-up, voice messages. Why? Because they still hear the excitement in your voice. But if you call them, just know that we'll probably talk for 2 hours and we'll even forget what we called for. We will be on the phone for 2 hours because we love talking. So voice message, if you don't have 2 hours to talk to a blue, invite to live events. If it's in person, they're going to be there. If it's on a Zoom, they're going to be the ones showing up. They love group chats, right? Fun testimonials, any testimonials really, we'll be the first one bawling. And photos, videos from trips and conferences. That's what we want to see.
So are you trying to say that the blues are good at social media and stuff like that?
Usually,
Yeah.
usually.
So
So, yep. Example phrases. You would love our community. The events and incentive trips are incredible. The people become like family. That's how you get a blue. People make their decisions sometimes within 2 minutes, and blues are very spontaneous. We are in, give us the form, right?
exactly. Extroverts and plenty of energy. All right, let's talk about
The greens. I love the greens. These are the I need all the information green people. They're analytical, they're logical, they're detail oriented, they're very cautious, they're information focused. They really hard for a blue. I'm just telling you, how to get along with the personalities that you normally aren't attracted to, right? So, because they all have strengths and weaknesses and they can help you, they're all needed on your team, right? I love my greens on my team. They keep me organized. They help me with boards. Boards is an app. It's chaos in there. If I didn't have greens going in and going, yeah, I think you should look like I have green friends, cross-line friends that help me with the communities right now. It's like, oh, hallelujah, because I don't know how to organize, if you haven't noticed already. But the gifts that they bring to the table are wisdom, analysis, caution, structure. They love structure. You're never going to convince this person with emotion to get into LifeWave. They will go home and read the clinical studies. So when they're in your business, they're not going anywhere. They are very loyal because they've done all the homework. They cannot be swayed. They're dependable. They're organized, detail. They're also risk awareness people, right? Pretty amazing. We're all making compliance bloopers, right? And these are the people that come say, oh, well, I think you should take this one out or don't say this. It's amazing. So they ask good questions. They give good advice. They're excellent at process. Their weaknesses can be overthinking, moving very slowly. They fear mistakes. They might struggle with things that are speedy, right? They're too speedy. If things are too fast, they're going to be very uncertain about it. But again, you win over green, they're loyal to you and convinced of their decision because it is so well thought out. They have thought out everything. You can't shake them, right? So a lot of people just make their excuses. Well, I gotta go think it over and I gotta go read, I gotta go do the research, right? But they're not ever going to do the research, right? That's their excuse to get out of the conversation. Not so in a green. I've learned this, that they actually go home and start their analysis of LifeWave, and in 6 months, they'll come back to you and go, yep, I'm ready. Got it. And you're like, wow, I thought you fell off the edge of the planet, right? But here you are. It's amazing. So my one-liner to use for a green who's about to leave my conversation and go do 6 months of research is, part of the research is putting it on your body and tracking how it works for you. And they love that. They just love it. They're like, what a good idea. And so I even send them the most complicated tracker that I would never even use. There are trackers out there that are like 3 pages long, and I just look at them and say, who would want a 3-page tracker to just, what time did I put the patch on? What time did I take it off? Which ones did I use? And all of these bodily parts, how they feel. 3 pages. That's for green. A green made it, and a green loves to fill it out. So that's what I use for them. And they do. So they don't go away empty-handed. Send them home with samples. What to talk about? Explain the technology. These are the people that are going to be unsatisfied if you're me and you say, they're just magic. Like this is me in the beginning. They're just magic. Put them on, see what they do. I got no greens to put these on. Like, no greens put these on. A lot of blues did, reds did, yellows did, but the greens were like, oh, come on, how does it work, right? Explain the technology. If you can't explain it, have videos that will explain it, right? Point to a tool so they can do their own research in technology because you're going to give them this is it info and they're going to be seeing things that you didn't even know were on that website. They'll come back to you and say, oh, I really love that video on David Schmidt. And I'll be like, that's on there? Really? So this is it info is a very good beginning for greens, right? But you can't stop there. Most people, you say, don't overwhelm them with information. You can't overwhelm a green. They just want all of it. So I will tell you, greens were at first hard for me to handle, but now that I understand them more and how they fit in LifeWave, I know what to say to them. I've worked on, doing the research is putting it on that works with a green. and I can stay in contact with them and give them more videos and more videos and more videos. And I just feed them until they're satisfied. And when they're satisfied, they're so loyal. So I love a good green. What else are they? Oh, share studies in science. This is my science, and this is why I made my website with all the clinicals. Discuss ingredients. I didn't even know what was in a patch until my scientists come along, right? So just how do the patches work? Testimonials, what's measurable results, business systems, numbers. Oh, some of them are accountants. They love numbers. They want to know everything about the compensation plan. They now know more than I do, because what do? I point them to the compensation plans, and there's 9 videos from LifeWave. A green made that. A green did that. The blue would have had a 1-page thing, right? Greens made that. The greens love it. So they'll watch all 9 and explain it to you. So it's good. If you need to know something, give it to a green, and they'll come back with a summary and a clipboard and a pen, right? And they'll explain everything to you. I love them. So what not to do? Do not hype things up. They do not live on hype. They really don't want to know about the trips, right? Some of them do. Some of them really love trips. This is where you don't want to put them in a box. You can mention it and see how they react. And if they go, really? Where'd you go? Then you know this is a green who likes to travel, right? So not everyone fits exactly in this box. Do not pressure green, because as I said, green's under stress. They will not make rash decisions. They just have to know all of it and take their time. It'll take longer, just put it that way. So no rushing them. Just send them more videos. They'll eventually have enough. And do not say, just trust me, put this on your body. It doesn't work that way. You have to say it's part of the research, right? So best follow-ups are everything that a blue doesn't want. They want the PDFs, the articles, the recorded webinars, the scientific videos. I just realized I'm dealing with a green right now as a follow-up. But I forget every once in a while to remember who I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's so green. And I just sent her samples, right? She found her samples where she's putting her samples on. And I'm like, so I'm thinking you're ready, right? How are we doing with those samples? I'm used to people making decisions by day 5 of the sample. Guess what? She was like, so what am I supposed to feel? Oh my gosh, she needs the 3-page tracker. So anyway, she wants all of that stuff and time to process all of the information. They won't be swayed by any emotional decisions. So example phrase, I'd love to send you some information so you can review the science and see how the technology actually works. Greens are all over it. And so now my husband, I ran out of time today to do the rest. So my husband's going to do the rest.
All right, so we're going to be talking about yellows and reds. So I am not a dominant blue, so you will see that it will go a lot faster. So yellow personalities, how does this help people? So they're compassionate, caring, very people focused, supportive, and purpose driven. Core gift are what? Care, loyalty, support, emotional steadiness. And their strengths are what? They're super compassionate, they're team minded, they're faithful, very calming presence, supportive, relationally safe. What you have to watch out, hesitate when to speak up. So you got to give them space, promote an environment where they're going to be able to speak up, which for some we are working on a regular basis. It can delay difficult decisions. It may put others before their own growth. So in other words, they will always want to take a step back. And again, so for those of you who are interested in becoming leaders, I will teach people how to actually lead the different personalities, because it's different style for everybody. One thing that matters yellows is others. So what's a good one-liner for yellows? If I could show you one simple 100% natural way to help all your friends and loved ones with better health and quality of life, would that be of interest to you? And
Yeah.
I can tell you what, a no-brainer for them.
They would love that. In fact, if you had told them about the money, what would have happened?
No, they would have shut down and not interested, no interest in them. So what to talk about with yellows? Improve quality of life, helping families, wellness and energy, pain relief, hope, changing life, huge, and purpose and impact. So they want to help everybody. You talk to them about what? Charities, community, and you use warm and soft language and vocabulary all the time. Nothing abrasive. So, what not to do? So, you don't want to focus on luxury. You don't want to talk about fast money. You don't want to focus on status. You don't want to be too flashy. We can segue here a little bit with some of the leaders that we have in our organization. For example, Renita is a big blue with a red component.
Red.
And so we have a lot of yellows in our team or greens.
We tell them it's a personality thing. That's all it is. You just have to know your personalities and know what you're dealing with and what their strengths are.
Exactly. So best way to follow up is personal conversations with them, stories and stories of transformations. So this is huge. And you ask them about their goals and passions. An easy point of entry for them is starting as a preferred customer because it's non-committal. They can start just as a customer, learn the business, learn the technologies, and so on and so forth. So it's not a business commitment, and they can still refer people. So they just love that.
They do love that, although sometimes they care so much about their people, they become brand partners, which is great. They care more than the people they're sharing with.
Right.
And that can really be heartbreaking for a yellow, right? I spend a lot of time on phones with yellows going, hey, you can't care more about their health than they do. And then I want to go, so get over it. But that's not what I say out loud, right?
And one of
They do. They just care. And if someone says no to the patch, they take it as, oh, I'm so sad for that person, right?
One of the best tools to use with them is testimonials. So we invite them to Testimonials Thursday with Renita. By the way, if you were not on the one from last week, it was phenomenal. And then share testimonials video all the time. So day in and day out. And the example phrase, what I love most is seeing people get their quality of life back and being able to truly help others feel better.
They don't want to even hear about the money.
All right, so let's talk about reds. So reds that may happen to be my dominant personality. So get to the point, driven, competitive, results oriented, confident, and goal focused. Core gifts, courage, drive, leadership, and decisive action. Their strengths, they're fast moving, they're confident, they're bold, goal driven, action oriented, and resilient. But they have a lot of,
Butts. There's a lot of butts.
There are a lot of butts. It can be impatient. It can be a lot of things, like over pushing and so on and so forth. Now, the thing is, if you win over a red, they're so very loyal as long as the train is moving in the right direction. So they got to see there's got to be a vision. It's got to go in that direction. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. They tend to make their own decisions quickly after checking a few key points. So if you're not familiar with what we call KPI, key performance indicators, that's what they want. They will not necessarily get down to the nitty gritty as long as the big picture makes sense and there's plenty of room to grow and excel, they are in. So my one-liner for a red, I have several of them, but hey, are you open to an additional income stream? If I can show you how to gain control of time and income, is that of interest to you? I'm currently expanding one of my businesses. Are you keeping your options open for additional income?
Now these scare the yellows. The yellows are already scared and in the closet, like they've left the room.
Yeah.
Right?
But, these reds, that's all it is about is business growth, leverage, leadership opportunities, residual income.
This doesn't sound like you at all.
Yeah, time, freedom, fast moving momentum, big picture vision. Now, so you guys, all of you guys know me through this LifeWave opportunity. The last direct position I had, I was actually VP of sales and marketing, and I was overseeing close to $1 billion worth of business worldwide through teams and everything else. So these are traits that I developed over the 30 plus years of professional experience that I've had. But I was with a sea of reds. If you guys think I'm a red, you don't know reds because
it was with ultra reds.
Yes, exactly.
Department. And he is kind of even keel because we've studied personality for 30 years. We've studied life skills. So he has learned not to say the wrong thing to his yellow children, right? Or his green secretary, right? Like he's learned it's not a do or do not moment.
Right. But when you're dealing with reds, you learn to be a little bit more assertive. So you learn to be bold. Get them plugged in with your team leaders. Get them plugged into Bridget or myself, or we can get them plugged into Brennan's. I mean, if we
Renita
yeah,
is great for reds. She
Yeah.
is red. She has blue in her, but I think she's both dominant,
right,
red
both,
and
yeah.
blue.
So set up three-way calls with your leaders. Don't be afraid to talk money with them. Most Reds want control of time and income. So you cut through the chase with those guys, you get to the point. The Reds, they prefer texts over calls. They focus on efficiency and they want a clear path to success. So what not to do with them? You don't want to ramble. You
Ramble.
don't want to be indecisive. You don't want to be too emotional and you don't want their time. You want to have a plan of action when you approach them. And again, it can be intimidating, but that's when you plug them into people like me or above. We're all here to help all of you guys. Best way to follow up, short updates, focus and emphasis on short. Quick calls. I even tell people I'd rather get text than a quick call. Why? Because we are very leveraged from our time and calendar commitments. So focus on results and numbers, obviously KPIs, action steps. You want a clear way path forward. And that's why the beauty with the community that Bridget is putting together, it's going to cater to really to every single personality. The breads are going to have boom, boom, boom. We're going to skim through it. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
And then whereas the greens are going to take their time, they're going to study everything. The yellow are going to nitpick what they want.
Of community.
So clear next moves.
The blues, we don't even know there's a community yet.
So what to know about Reds? Most Reds are overextended and overscheduled. So if they reschedule or miss an appointment, don't take it personally. Okay, it's just because they put too much on their plate. So by the same token, don't be afraid to use a put up or shut up situation. And I've used that this morning, as a matter of fact. We were at a field day with the grandkids, and this guy suddenly comes and starts talking to me. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. So I let him talk and talk and talk and talk. And I knew he had a sales pitch of some sort. And sure enough, he is in the solar panel business. And so little did he know that I don't own a house. So anyway, I said, hey, sorry. But then we kept on talking. And it turns out the guy is an accomplished rugby player. He's got all kinds of injuries and everything else. I said, well, okay, so have you ever looked into copper peptide for injury repair and everything else? And he goes, what are we talking about? And so next thing you know, I'm talking to him and we have a grant time and he's giving me his card so I can send him some information about all the technology and everything else. So it was a red actually talking to a red. It was fantastic. So he's got a great big family. His wife is expecting again and so on and so forth. And so we can't connect. I mean, we text each other here and there. So I told him, I said, hey, I just want to know if you're still interested so that I know where to put you as far as my CRM. He goes, I am super interested for this person, and this person. We just need to find a time to make it work. So here you go. Are you still interested in getting the results we discussed? That's one of the lines I use. Just let me know one way or another, or let me know if you want me to reach out to you in 6 months or so.
Don't be afraid to take it away.
So these are final thoughts. So stop presenting the way you want to hear it. You start presenting it the way they need to hear it. And that's one of the things that you talked about early on is always focus on the person that you're talking to. So you listen carefully, you ask questions, and you watch what excites them. One of the things we talked about today is just language. We didn't even talk about body language. The pictures, as in the final screen, are going to actually show that. But the body language from people tells you a
lot too.
The tone,
them a lot too, right. How you are. Like, are you leaning in and listening and having them repeat what they just said or clarifying, right? Like, do that.
Right. So when people, you say here, like when people feel seen and understood, they naturally become more open to the opportunity. So lots of things may also impact people's disposition and temperaments and personalities. So even if somebody is a dominant red,
you could be hanging out with your grandchildren.
Exactly.
Totally a blue.
Exactly. Right? So it's not because you know somebody and you've already assigned a personality trait to that person that when you go and approach them, that they're necessarily in that disposition. And so you have to really pay attention to what's going on with that person.
Yeah, because you could work with someone who you think is totally one way. And then you can meet outside at a coffee shop to talk and find out he is totally not the same person. That was me. Totally red at work, totally blue outside with my family and friends. One's a learned trait, and one how I functioned at work, and one was my natural disposition. And Renita really said something the other day, Sunday trainings with Renita. She said, when she goes up to a person, she mentally thinks about that person and says, I love this person, first of all, and just puts that out there that I love this person. How can I help this person? Before she even opens her mouth, she's thinking these things and saying, how can I help this person? And then she starts a conversation with that person. And I think that's so important, is to just have that intention in the conversation. We really are here to serve and to hand them a gift. And we want them to take the gift. And if they
Absolutely.
walk away thinking, that was the nicest person I've ever met, it's because you've listened and you've heard what they said and repeated it back to them, that you feel heard and loved. If they walk away and say, oh, that Bridget, it's all about her, then I haven't done my job, right? I can't be that blue around them. I have to learn a lot about being a yellow, because yellows are naturally like this, and I'm not. But if you're working with the red, it's totally different too, right?
By the way, this recording is going to be available in the communities, and we're going to share it on WhatsApp and on Facebook so
Exactly.
everybody can have it. But let's quickly recap. So blue, show me the fun. Green, I need all the information. Yellow, how does this help people? Red, get to the point. And you can see the body language already right there. So at the end of the day, it's important for each of us to do what? Two things. One, recognize each personality and all personalities in others. And then also in ourselves, tap in our own portions of each of these in ourselves so we can learn to bring them to the surface when we're interacting with others. And this is an acquired trait. So when I'm dealing with the blue, automatically the blue comes out. So in terms of homework, so we're going to ask you to practice the following. So first of all, identify the dominant personality in the folks that you come in contact with. So let's say if I mention Scott, for example, Scott Brand, who are you thinking of?
Green.
Gina.
Oh my gosh. Gina is a blue red. She is definitely blue, like party, but she's got a lot of red in her too, but mostly blue.
Andy Hosier.
Oh, Andy.
Yeah.
So yellow.
He's a yellow-green.
Yellow-green.
Yeah, very much so.
Man,
Yeah.
he
So-
has all the details. Watch his videos
Yeah.
because he puts things so well, right? He's so organized. He'll tell you the compensation plan beautifully. That man.
So homework, practice the following. So identify the dominant personality of the folks you come in contact with and learn to develop that, an awareness exactly inside of you so that you can interact with these people. And as I mentioned earlier, so in the future, we'll have other sessions that are geared specifically about how to recognize personalities through body posture, habits, and more. And as well as how to really properly follow up with each personality. And so for builders, as I mentioned earlier, I will have a hands-on training. So that's going to be in the communities, League of Leaders. I will have hands-on training sessions for learning how to manage folks.
You know what color that community is? Red.
Yeah. So
It
anyways,
doesn't mean that the blues are not going to be in there, but I did pick that as a red for my husband.
so that's what we wanted to go over tonight. So I'm going to turn off the recording and then we can switch to more questions. Yeah.
Yeah.